G'day Aussie Gridiron fans, welcome to the G'day Gridiron podcast, an NFL podcast brought to you by the Aussie Gridiron Network. It is the free agency halfer Tuesday show, day one of the official NFL tampering period, legal tampering period, that's the right words to say. The second of these shows we've done this week. I've got Brad back with me this evening, and we're joined by Nick to try and challenge ourselves to get through a whole bunch of the information in half an hour. Brad, there's considerably more than we talked about last night, that's for sure.
Yeah, you could say that again. It went off with a bang this today. So I feel a little bit like Christmas. Like this is one of my favorite days. And I had this massive anticipation last night, and I woke up obscenely early, and so it was, and now I'm starting to hit that wall. So I'm psyched to be able to do this with you guys, though. I'm going to get my second wind.
Nick, were you up early as well? Were you watching the feed and getting? I think I woke up to 150 notifications at 6 a.m. this morning.
Oh, jeez.
I was just about to say I was relatively on par with that, and I didn't wake up like Brad by design. I think my phone had a big enough of a spasm from the amount of just notifications from Schefter and Rappaport, just with everything that's happening, that it just forced itself to make that much noise. I woke up. Like I had it on a bedside table here, and I think it actually vibrated off the table because it
There
was
was
going
that
off that much.
many notifications.
Well, I was
Yeah.
I was getting considerably pissed off with Rappaport's constant notifications because the dude doesn't just he tells you this just happened, and then he has to make 4 more tweets about the same player, and it's just like, do we really need all this? And you're flooding my notifications, and I'm missing out on other stuff because at one point I jumped into the fantasy group, and Taylor had made this huge list of things that had happened that morning so far, and I'm like, I just missed half of these. I didn't even get notifications for things like Malik Willis.
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
this is nuts. And it's because Rappaport and the others will just post endlessly about the same person. So,
Sure.
all right, we've already got the clock going. We're into 27 minutes. We're 3 minutes into the show already. We haven't even talked about anybody. Let's get down to business. Biggest player moves today. Undoubtedly, straight up this morning, Miami released Tua Tagovailoa and immediately signed Malik Willis to the Miami Dolphins to take over as QB1. He gets a 3-year, $67.5 million contract with $45 million guaranteed. Willis sort of was really the dude in the middle of the season for Green Bay last year, had some good outings, but can he be a QB1 and succeed in Miami, Brad?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not enough tape on him, really, to say the truth. I don't think it's a bad deal simply because of the cost. I don't feel like they necessarily overpaid for him. And he's reuniting with former Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, so who's now going to be his head coach. So obviously there's familiarity in the building, and that's what so many of these teams, especially in free agency, they're just looking for familiarity. So obviously it didn't work out with Tua, so you're going to make the jump, and they're in such bad shape financially, that team, that this, you guys can talk about that, just the fact of how much they're eating in dead money. But I think it's all things considered, it's a good move.
The largest amount of dead
99
money.
million.
Yeah.
99 million.
Lo-
So it's now the highest amount, more than obviously Denver 8 for Russell Wilson. So what this tells me is that obviously, they were very unhappy with how Tua turned out, the last at least
Mm,
season, maybe another season. But it's
hmm
also a lot of pressure on their GM, Chris Greer, to obviously make sure that they get the picks right like Denver did. And also they've got a lot of confidence then in Jeff Hafley, as you mentioned, Brad, to be able to hit the ground running, because obviously they've gotten rid of Tyreek, got rid of Bradley Chubb. They've now brought in Malik Willis, who we've just mentioned, as now the guy that's going to be taking over. So they're betting on a lot, and obviously the
Mm.
next couple of years they'll probably be rebuilding. But they're expecting a big return sort of after, I'd say, the next couple of years, once that dead money's gone.
Yeah, it really seems like they're setting it up for a decent out next year, even the year after if they need to, with Malik Willis. Really just letting Jeff Hafley get to next year's draft and pick the quarterback that he wants, and setting it up that way. And hell, throwing caution to the wind for $22 million a year. If they have a decent year with Malik Willis, then it's all upside. But otherwise, you get a good draft pick and you move it on down the road. Of course, Tua Tagovailoa was out a little more than an hour after that. He signed with the Falcons for the vet minimum of $1.3 million. Oh, man. The Falcons making dumb moves. Is there anything better? Honestly, it's just that they continue to do it because we've just signed one of the most injury-prone players in the NFL to back up / compete with a guy who is coming off his third ACL surgery in his career. I just don't. It's the most left-handed quarterback room ever, as well. Who wins? Who wins out of this? Do you think? Who's the winner and loser out of this between the Falcons and the Dolphins?
The pain medication companies, the
100% orthopedics.
Exactly.
In the Georgia state.
Yeah.
Whoever's making the Guardian cap.
Yeah. It's just you to your point. If your biggest concern in your QB room is sustainability and injuries, why would you hire another guy whose biggest concern is sustainability and injuries? So it doesn't make any sense to me.
Maybe they're using one quarterback when one quarterback's out and the other one comes back. Then when the other one's out, the other one will come back in. Maybe work it like that.
They're hoping.
I wonder
that's the way it goes.
Yeah, I wonder what this does for Tua though. Albeit Mike McDaniel was pretty good as an offensive mind. Move with Kevin Stefanski. Arguably Tua's best year is when Miami had their best year running the ball. So now with a better offensive line, Bijan Robinson there, if he is able to beat out Michael Penix as the starter, shows that obviously he's still determined, he might be able to still be, starting level quarterback in the league. I don't mind it. Gives a bit of position competition between the two. Penix has struggled. He really needs a bit of a jolt. Obviously, they're getting rid of Kirk Cousins. So yeah, you bring in Tua. Tua's been around for a little bit. So it gives them some healthy competition. I mean, Tua's pretty much playing for free at Atlanta, so there's no risk for him really. It's all upside.
Yeah, and I mean Penix is out for at least the first month of the season anyway. So I mean, if it's Tua for the first 4 weeks and it is what it is, and then Penix comes back and he's all right, then the Falcons are essentially winning. I really think they need a QB3 though that they can go back to, someone that's solid, that's not incredibly injury prone.
Only if he's a lefty. Only if he's a lefty.
Is there any lefties out there? Anyway, we'll leave that up. Wide receiver, Alec Pierce. There was so much talk about Alec Pierce and the Colts after the Colts decided to tag Daniel Jones. Everyone thought that meant that Pierce was going to be out the door, but he ends up signing a record deal, the largest free agent wide receiver contract ever, with the Indianapolis Colts, 4 years, $114 million, 84 of which is guaranteed. Pierce had just on 1,000 yards, 47 catches last year, and led the league again in yards per catch. He is a yards per catch monster, Alec Pierce. Good for the Colts to sign him back and get some continuity, I think, Nick.
Well, I think it made sense to me, the deal, a little bit more once there was the announcement of Michael Pittman being traded to the Steelers. Because obviously if this deal had gone through and they kept Pittman and they probably re-signed him, then, why would you pay, a number 2 that much? Are they, Cincinnati West? But no, obviously you got to pay Alec that sort of money if you want, Daniel Jones to be able to throw to someone. You assume that Daniel Jones is probably the next thing that they'd be looking at. And obviously, they've invested their first rounders into Sauce Gardner. So, they can't really have the option of unless they find like a diamond in the rough late in the draft.
Mm.
So no, it definitely makes sense. Big player. How he goes to number one receiver, we'll see. With Pittman gone. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of Indy look out for. It is a massive amount of money for a guy that isn't like a top tier sort of
Yeah.
player. Maybe they see something in him. Maybe Daniel Jones has got a really good relationship with him, and he's probably just pestered Shane Steichen to sort of get into the ownership about keeping him and give him that deal. So who knows?
It really surprised me just I think the amount of the money, I was thinking he was going to get, one of these like, okay, $20 million a year type deal, but he
4 for 90
way,
sort of thing. Yeah.
yeah. But no fault to him. I mean, congratulations, but I think they overpaid for him.
It's a huge amount of guarantee too. That's the other thing
Yeah.
that I take out of that is just the guarantee is insane.
Hmm.
The big men in the center, Brad, Tyler Linderbaum signs with the Las Vegas Raiders for one of the biggest O-line deals of the offseason, probably one of the biggest ever, to be honest. When you look at how it ended up breaking down, it ends up as a 3-year, $81 million contract. Brad, $60 million of that $81 million is guaranteed up front as signing bonus.
That's
This
insane.
it doesn't seem like a 3-year deal. This seems like a 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's heard it in terms of if you're following the NFL today, you have to get a guy for Mendoza, assuming they take Mendoza, who is going to be able to do the line, do all the protection calls, and so they got him. They got that guy. But the question is, did you overpay for that guy? And yes, he was first among centers for his PFF grade. He had 91.1 PFF grade, which is really high. But the reality is, you're paying him 9% of the cap. And how many teams pay 9% of the cap to the center position? Nobody. And you take him out of his contract out of the equation, and the average position, or the average salary for centers rather, drops like by 3 million. That's how much he's raised the floor for centers. So it's pretty amazing. And you're basically paying him wide receiver one money. And that to me just is phenomenal. But you got to ask, is an elite center, is he worth that much? And I I don't know. I don't know.
The Raiders had a stonking amount of cap space
Yeah, they did.
coming into today as well. And they spent massively today. Not just spent, like properly spent. Guarantees wise is huge. They have 7 players they signed today alone. Linderbaum was the most expensive by far, by
Yeah.
double. They got edge rusher Quiddy Pay. They got linebackers Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. They got wide receiver Jalen Naylor, quarterback Eric Stokes, and another edge rusher in Malcolm Kuntz. Most of those guys, except for Kuntz, have a total guarantee of more than 2/3 of their total value. It's insane. Millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 million went out the door today for the Las Vegas Raiders. I just
Investing,
don't.
definitely investing.
Yeah.
Brad, just to answer your question, in terms of a team that pays the center 9% of their cap, just a team called the Kansas City Chiefs with Creed Humphrey that turned out all right. But anyway, I will not allow interior O-line slander from you.
Touche. I love it. I
Invest,
love it.
invest in it.
I love it.
Still on defense, linebacker Devin Bush signs with the Chicago Bears. Key defensive rebuild piece after Chicago cut Tremaine Edmonds earlier last week. Bush had a big bounce back season with 125 tackles in 2025. He gets 3 years, $30 million. The Bears certainly seem to be going all in on defense this year, which seems to be the right way, I think.
Yeah, definitely the logical way for them this year. Like we've said in the sort of North reviews, they're pretty set offensively with what they've got. They've got a lot of upside. Even with the trade for DJ Moore sort of last week, and getting some picks for him. Their offense is still very prominent going into next year. So now, obviously, with that cap space that they've sort of accumulated from DJ Moore going, and obviously what they had left over, definitely good that they're building on that defense to, really try and retain that NFC North.
Yeah, another interesting one for the Bears, just quickly. They got Kobe Bryant from the Seahawks, the safety, for
Yeah.
3 years, $40 million. That's a great signing for the Bears.
Yeah. My concern with the Bush thing is that he struggles in coverage. Like he gets picked on in coverage. His passer rating against him was almost 110. And you're playing a coverage linebacker. You gotta. I mean, it's an essential part of being a linebacker is being able to cover. So, and I feel like what they're paying for him, just at the linebacker position, relative to everybody else, I feel like it's a little bit of an overpay.
Fair enough. A couple of other notable deals. I talked about Kwity Paye to the Raiders. Brian Cook to the Cincinnati Bengals for 3 years, around $40 million. Kenneth Walker to the Kansas City Chiefs. Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker is now a Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City get the running back that they have been searching for since they drafted CEH so many years ago.
This is kind of says, okay, I wonder if they thought Love was not going to be there at pick 9. That's what I've heard.
I think so. I think the talk is that Love's probably going to go top 5, and I think that's what has probably prompted this, Brad.
Yeah, and they knew that okay, if we're not going to get Love, then we got to get somebody proven. But to be honest with you, I think this is the better route. I really do, because how many times are the Chiefs going to be able to pick in the top 10? I mean, with Patrick Mahomes, really. So when you get in this position, you need to take advantage of it. And I don't think drafting a running back is taking advantage of it. You need somebody on the D line, somebody on the O line, something like that. So I think this was a good pick. Yeah, you slightly overpaid for him, but still, I think I think it's going to be really fun.
Well, speaking of Jeremiah Love, then in that regard, the Saints, who I think pick one spot before the Chiefs, picked up Travis Etienne.
Did.
So that must mean that, I don't know, if there's betting lines about where Jeremiah Love goes, pretty much get him up the order, because it sounds like these two teams have sort of done their research, and that's probably why they've gone out and prioritized running back in this free agency.
While we're quickly talking about running back, a few went today. Travis Etienne to the Saints, Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. We talked about J.K. Dobbins gets a new deal with the Broncos, so they signed him. Kenneth Gainwell to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tyler Algier gets signed to the Cardinals, and Rico Dowdle quietly signed to the Steelers. Which is a very interesting one. I can't believe the Panthers let Rico Dowdle go.
You got to wonder what they're thinking. I don't know if he was a little bit of a malcontent there in Carolina or what, but there was quite a bit of movement. And also, I was a little bit surprised with Algier going to Arizona, because didn't they sign back Connor? So, again, Algier's used to kind of the two-headed monster, so maybe he just realizes the benefit of that. And he's like, okay, I don't need to be the number one guy type of thing. So, just real quickly, circling back to the ETN thing, again, he would be in my list of kind of like overpaid, in the sense of a running back. He gets a 4-year deal, which the majority of the deals was all 3-year deals this today. And he gets a 4-year deal, and he's getting up there in age for running back purposes. So, I think it was a bit of a reach, averaging $13 million a year, bit of an overpay for that. But you are, on the whole, you're seeing running backs come back into favor a little bit more, which I think is a good thing on the whole.
Absolutely, Brett. Um, Mike Evans is now a San Francisco 49er, Nick.
Woo!
Major wide receiver addition for the 49ers. Big X receiver. Mike Evans is a bully guy as a receiver. Loves to really get in and get physical with the ball. Are you excited, Nick?
Yeah, I
Oh,
really
don't be
do
too
like this
excited,
move.
Nick. Don't be too excited.
I
Calm down, Nick.
I really do like it. Yeah, I mean, we've struggled obviously since Ayuk did his knee, and then Pearsall gets shot every other month. Um, then we're
Yeah.
rotating between Demarcus Robinson and Kendrick Bourne, and it's just refreshing to see a receiver that can actually run routes at a very high level and can produce what he can. It's interesting because last year, obviously, we had Cooper Cup that went for that 3-year deal. We had Devontae Adams, who also went to the Rams. And it's interesting because, I mean, obviously, Cup went on and won a Super Bowl. And he actually played very good on the day in the Super Bowl. But then you look at how well Devontae Adams went and how he led the league in touchdowns. So
Mm.
hopefully we get that sort of production. Hopefully he stays, he's remained durable his whole career. This year had a bit of a hiccup, but I'm glad that Purdy actually gets an actual receiver to throw to instead of checking on the injury report every now and again and seeing, oh, hang on, who am I throwing to this week? Oh,
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
from down the street. Like,
Yeah.
so at least we've got a natural out and out proper number one receiver, and George Kittle isn't being double teamed as a tight end.
After last season, Nick, where you almost made a championship with the biggest injury list known to man, you would
Yeah.
have to think now adding a proper X receiver or a proper receiver just in general with Mike Evans and the rest of that team gets actually healthy and Brock Purdy does have somebody to actually play with on the field, as you said, instead of Jeff from down the street or picking up the bloke picking up the garbage in the stadium 20 minutes before the game, they they are a great chance now, great odds for the championship. Have to be.
Well,
If
I think weapon wise in a good spot. I still would like to see them fix up a bit more of the O line. That still worries about what's happening with Trent Williams.
Well, I was going to say, unless they do
It's a
something
bit
dumb
more
like trade
noise.
Trent Williams.
Yeah, it's a bit more noise than last season. So there's a little bit more involved. Also got to fix, a little bit more. Well, obviously, probably do it more so in the draft just because there'll be more guys there. But maybe fix more guys on the back ends. In terms of need another corner, probably another safety. We fixed up our D line last year, but pretty much O line now. If we could fix up our O line, our secondary, I'd be a lot more confident.
Quick thoughts on Mike Evans as a 49er?
to me, this is the number one value steal. I really I hate saying that, but I feel like this in terms of value, this was the best signing today because
I really
you're
wanted you to be a Cowboy.
well, you're paying a number one. He's a number one wide receiver. I mean, he even showed that when he came back last season. Granted, I think it was 1 or 2 games. But he after his injury when he came back in week 15, he lit it up. He's a number one wide receiver, and you're paying him number two money. Number ones get 30 million a year. You're paying him 20 million a year. So I think it's just phenomenal value. And so hats off to Lynch for doing this and not overpaying. If I, for one season, if I'm one season, I know
Yeah,
it
you
doesn't work
probably,
this way, but I'd much rather have Mike Evans than Pierce. And Pierce is getting a whole heck of a lot more money.
it's a 3-year deal. It's essentially a 2-year deal the way it's been set up. But
Yeah.
the reality is, you're probably only going to get Mike Evans for a year. I think, unless he is still super healthy towards the end of the season. I
Hmm.
think after the injury and the career he's had, I think you're going to get Mike Evans 1 year going all out on a new team. I really do. The only thing that disappoints me about this is I think Mike Evans is one of those players I would love to have seen on the one team or the one franchise for his entire career. That's the only thing. If it was going to be 1 year only, I would have much preferred the Bucks actually put money in and signed him for that year and let him retire a buck. Because there's great
he'll retire a
storylines.
buck. He'll go
There's
back
great
for
storylines.
he'll go back for the 1 day contract crap.
Yeah.
But
you know what I mean. You get
I know
it,
exactly
Brad.
what
Like
you mean.
it's play every year as a buck. You know. Right.
Well, it
Teams
sounded like-
making. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say quickly, I've heard some stuff today. It sounded like towards the end that it wasn't about the money. He got offered good money from Tampa, but it sounded like something to do with more so
Yeah,
coaching more than anything.
More Todd Bowles. It's the Todd Bowles thing. I've been
100%.
seeing that from a lot of Bucks fans. that if they'd gotten rid of Todd Bowles, they'd still have Mike Evans, and a lot of Bucks fans saying that's how they would have preferred it to be. So, teams making the most noise today. We talked about the Raiders and their haul. The Dolphins resetting the QB free agency market or resetting QB rather with Malik Willis. We talked a little bit about the Bears. One that I wanted to talk about a bit is the Tennessee Titans. 8 players they signed today, multiple defensive deals and roster upgrades. I'm just going to run through these guys quickly. Wan'Dale Robinson got a huge contract, 4-year contract. John Franklin Myers, D lineman, they signed him from the Broncos. Alontae Taylor comes over from the Saints. They got Cordell Flott, Daniel Bellinger, and Austin Schlottman, all from the Giants. They signed Joshua Williams from the Chiefs, cornerback there, and they signed Mitch Trubisky to be the QB2, which means what's his name? Levis is gone for sure. But 8 players today alone with some pretty good contracts actually. I don't think they overpaid for anybody, to be honest.
It was I don't think so either. I'm just trying to think. No, I thought they did a good job. So.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. So that they by far they were the biggest mover today, the most amount there.
Easily.
So boys.
I was just say this, if we want to go into it real quick, that who do we think best available? Are they going to get signed tomorrow? So I'm thinking like Trey Hendrickson, Rasheed Walker, Brandon Smith, Kevin Baird. Are these guys going to get signed tomorrow, or are they going to ride it out and wait? I don't know. I'm really surprised Hendrickson hasn't been picked up yet.
So am I, Brad. I'm really surprised Hendrickson didn't get done today. I'm really surprised the Kyler Murray thing didn't get done. I said it yesterday on our show. Yesterday, I thought Kyler Murray to the Vikings was going to happen instantly. Not sure why that hasn't happened yet. It seems like it should have been a done deal, to be honest. Same as Tua. When you're getting somebody for basically free, go for it.
Yeah. And what's happening with Juwan Jennings, Nick? Is he just being a special?
Well, could be that. Now that we've got Mike Evans, it might sort of force his hand a bit. So it'll be interesting what happens with that. I'd still like to keep Jennings, but if he's with Evans getting 20 million a year, I mean that was almost what Jennings was after, and so there's no point giving him that same money. He doesn't produce as nearly as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Speaking of guys that getting a look in, I know he's sort of injured at the moment, but Tyreek Hill, someone's going to take a flyer on him. For a small amount.
I think so.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he'd done pretty soon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think the Tyreek Hill thing will come later, though. I think everyone will see where the wide receiver market sits and who's left and who's around. Just to try and force, I think, Tyreek's hand into sort of saying, you're not, you can't go for the price that you think you can. I think that'll be the only thing. There's a lot of guys still sort of sitting out there that I think are mid-level. So there's some dudes that I thought would have probably signed a few places. Some that I thought would have re-signed with certain teams by now, like Joey Bosa and the Bills.
Yes.
I don't understand how that hasn't happened yet.
I Oh, I wonder what he's chasing. If in terms of, is he trying to really go after the bank, or are other teams pushing hard? Because I know Dallas is supposedly in the mix on Bosa. Because even though they got Gary today, they're trying to get another defensive end, and he's one of those that is in that 11-12 million dollar range, that for like a 1 year contract, that I could see teams going after, or Cincinnati. I would think Cincinnati just needs to go after any defensive player.
It's all right, Brad. The brothers will unite with the Bosses. It's okay.
You
No,
reckon
Brothers will
that's
unite.
no,
that's where we're getting to? You reckon?
I hope
I've heard
not.
the rumor, but I've been hearing that for about a few years. So whether it's actually going to come to fruition is another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One final funny thing that sort of happened today is that the Buffalo Bills signed a backup QB. Kyle Allen
Yes.
is now the backup
Yes.
QB to Josh Allen. So
No relation.
it's no relation at all, but it's the Allens at the Bills.
How cool is
Imagine
that?
hearing that on a radio broadcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Allen.
Oh.
Allen.
Allen in for Allen. What?
You wonder if they're going to do like their first initial on the back of their jerseys or not.
I think I'd have to, surely.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be
Anyway.
making for the Bills.
anyway, we got through a bunch of info, boys. Half an hour, done and dusted.
We did. And tomorrow may not be as busy, but it'll be just as important.
Well, yeah, it may not be as busy. It will be as important, as Brad said. And you know what? We might be able to have a little bit of time tomorrow to cover off a few of these other these guys that are sort of, I guess, the 40th or 30th or 40th on the list of free agent signings today. Guys that in the middle of the off season would be like headlines. That just sort of went under the wire today. So we'll search for some of those and we'll have a bit of chat about some of those tomorrow, depending on what else pops off. I know Brad's going to be with me tomorrow. Nick probably won't be because he'll be working. Isaac's sick. That's the only reason he's not here tonight. Otherwise, I know he would have been right alongside us. We'll hopefully see Isaac later in the week as our own schedule is evolving. Make sure you check out everything on socials at G'day Gridiron for us. Manjot posted heaps today at Pastry Press NFL. You can also find everything on the Aussie Gridiron Network linktree /Aussie Gridiron Network. All the links are there. Go and give Manjot some love. He did a great job posting in real time today and doing as much as he could.
Awesome.
Yep. And until tomorrow, see you later.